Hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbeneau, and with me is my co-host, John Bristowe. All right, a new MSBuild editing experience. MSBuild is releasing experimental editor. What's this all about? I haven't seen this yet.
Well, it's to be clear, it's just a JSON schema file for VS Code.
Oh.
So it's basically a way of being able to format your MSBuild files. Now, why in God's name you'd want to do this? It makes sense to me. Look, I edited MSBuild files back in the day. If you hate your life or you are lacking sleep, this is a great way to solve those problems. MSBuild files are notoriously complex, but what they've done is they've provided basically a JSON schema file. They've added some capabilities as well, but basically it allows you to now schematize your MSBuild files, which was always missing before. That being said, in their Q&A section, they do talk about the fact that they're going to implement an LSP or language server provider. So that's good news, because what that allowed them to do is advanced capabilities like IntelliSense and possibly some extensions as well, like being able to visualize your tree structure, which you can do already with XML, but to visualize it in a way that makes sense. So I can be, this is what we did for the VS Code extension that we did for Octopus Deploy. So we have a text file format called OCL, which stands for Octopus Configuration Language. It's just a derivative of HCL from Terraform. And we built a tree view section for that allowed you to visualize what it looked like. So for any type of hierarchical document like an XML document, that would be probably a good thing for them to think about. But if you're looking to handcraft your MSBuild files, the good news is now that you can do so. So they have a MSBuild specific JSON based schema that you can use.
Good old XML. I mean, who doesn't like getting in there and editing some XML configuration files?
To be successful with this, just kill that part of your soul that isn't dead yet.
Or use YAML.
That's right.
.NET 7 reaching end of support by May 14th.
Yeah, not surprised for anyone.
Yeah. Sounds like a short life cycle, but really we're dealing with 2002 code here. So
yeah,
it's about 2
years.
years.
2022.
2022. I said 2002. Yeah, that'd be really old.
That'd be .NET 1.
People are still running, I'm sure.
That's true.
I saw a thread. I don't remember if it came off of this one or not, but it was, I think Damian Edwards was asking on Twitter. He said, what version of Visual Studio are you running? And somebody responded back, all of them.
Yes. They're not baseball cards. You're not supposed to collect them. Come on.
They're like Pokemon. Get all of them. Yeah. So every odd year is the STS release, and then you get an LTS release, and those last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So you've got 18 months on the standard release and 16 months on the LTS release.
I've always had a problem with the sort of LTS support that .NET had prior to .NET 6. It was way too long, in my opinion. I think that companies, they'll pay look, when a company is going to be paid by other companies to maintain something long, any reasonable person should expect. I can understand why Microsoft chose to make those decisions, but these days, it's more of a hindrance than anything. Having these framework versions sitting around because they're supported is really a hindrance to the innovation of the platform, and I think that it hurts everyone. So I think that going to an LTS STS model is far better because much like natural selection, we need things to die off and get culled, and then the new generation comes in, so the new version.
A little creative destruction for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and these things are getting easier to migrate. If you're going from like full framework to .NET Core to .NET, that's a bit much. But if you're talking 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, like these are going to be pretty easy migrations. There's not a lot of breaking changes, more feature adds than anything. So it shouldn't be too bad. Or you could just containerize.
I love the comments coming in. Sorry, I just wanted.
MSBuild
killed my soul a long time ago. Sorry.
Well, you can just containerize everything, right? So
Sure.
Kubernetes is back.
Yes.
Why I don't run distributed systems. What's this
Yeah.
post about, John?
So this was a post written that talks about the sort of arc, maybe the character arc in this case, but this is certainly a main character villain story. But this gentleman wrote this article about how because of, for a variety of reasons, peer pressure, who knows, they decided to adopt Kubernetes. And then they thought, this is ridiculous. Why don't I just not do this? And so they decided to move back to just deploying VMs. And the good news is Octopus deploys both. So we support both cloud native and sorry, a slight plug there. So there you go. But this is a common pattern you'll see with some folks, like, oh, I got to use the new thing. I got to use the new whatever. And I'm not saying Kubernetes is new. It's 10 years old. But a lot of people kind of get sucked into the gravity well of technology popularity. And so this is what this person talked about, saying, look, I'm going back to a more traditional siloed approach with VMs. I'm okay with that. Don't hate on me. Come at me, bro. That sort of thing. So I think that's all good.
Just put it on a server.
Yeah. So at the end, it's like, so do I hate Kubernetes? Of course not. All I'm saying is choose your weapons carefully. And I agree. I think, Kubernetes is great. The scaling, the ability to self-heal and manage and et cetera. It's fantastic. It's incredibly complicated. But all those things being equal, I mean, like, if you don't need something for Kubernetes, I mean, like, if you could handle, say, a few hundred concurrent users, then just deploy to a VM. You're good.
He's quoting the Primogen, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen his show, but
oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Is miraculous at putting together entertainment and coding as a show. And it's
I do my best impression. He's like, the channel is the Primogen, and he just always points at the camera and all that. I can't grow a mustache like he does. He's a very Tom Selleck type look. I like it a lot.
Yeah, he's a
shout
riot
out to
watch.
Primogen. Huge fan. Been watching his stream for a long time.
For sure. Speaking of shameless plugs, what's going on at Oculus Deploy? We got some task log improvements.
Yeah, so Paul's who's our CEO. So this is a great story. You want to chat with our folks, you can.
Just trying to hide it.
So Paul's our CEO, and I kind of made I poked a little fun at Paul because he decided to crack. He cracked his knuckles, so to speak, and dusted off his IDE. And I was joking with him, saying I haven't fired up VS Code for over a month. I haven't. I've been busy with events, like KubeCon kept me busy. I will get back into it though. But Paul was the same, and he fired up his IDE and started doing all these features as well that he built into the task log. So in Octopus Deploy, we track and audit everything. And one of the things that we see a lot, and this is common across all systems, when you do tracking or auditing or anything related to logging, one of the banes of that existence is the fact that you'll see logs come in huge swaths, especially if you're doing lots and lots of computations. And there is definitely a proclivity to log everything, but with that comes the fact that you have to log everything and you have to render it. And what we were facing was when you were logging, it would take time to redraw. And so what Paul did was some really nice sort of sliding window algorithms here to draw it effectively and efficiently. So that's what he's demonstrating here. And so I mentioned the fact that Paul did this because he's a developer. Like, our CEO is a developer by trade awesome. and by heart. So he loves this stuff. So he dusted off his IDE, and that's the part of the story that he didn't include in the blog post. So he's like, I dusted off and I fired this up and I did some work, and everyone's like, yeah, sort of thing. So it's always nice to see your CEO do some coding, which is great. But that being said, if you are doing anything around telemetry or logs or stuff, just be note, like, yes, it works in the hello world sense, right? One log, one entry, great, it works. But when it goes to render these things can get really gnarly. Like, Paul's showing actually some very easy examples. This is like a few thousand lines. When you're hitting the tens of thousands or 100,000s, or even worse, when you want to do a search, that's when things get really gnarly. And so there are tools to do that. There's solutions that are out there that I would highly recommend, and there are long-time solutions, like you think of solutions like Splunk and the common enterprise scenarios, but there are many others as well. And so Paul kind of goes through all these in his blog post, which I thought was great.
Yeah, like the lazy loading demo, like it's all good stuff.
Yeah. Yep. So some solutions that we like at Octopus Deploy. So we've used Sumo in the past. We've used Seek by Datalust. That's a very good tool. So they used Seek is a ability to write like T-SQL queries against your logs, which is super awesome. And it's super efficient, and it's aggregating millions of lines of logs. So rendering these things out, generating them, everyone does this, right? Like everyone, like it's a sort of dirty little secret. Like console.writeline is like, like the debugger's friend. But there are logging frameworks as well. There are ways to render this stuff, so you have to consider all those things.
Good deal. Let's move on to a little bit of AI talk, John. This is something that I've been diving into quite a bit this last 2 weeks here. So Microsoft Teams is getting Copilot. I don't know if you've seen this yet. So this is actually going to kind of look into some of the Office experience stuff. So there's like Copilot in meeting chats. So help you like
call recap. That's the one I want.
Yep. Intelligent call recap, so.
Oh, you just muted out there. Sorry, Ed. Sorry to interrupt. I'll just talk while Ed fixes it. You can just interrupt me anytime. So reading through this Copilot in the meeting chat, Copilot in the chat compose box. So, if you want to say, everyone keeps asking you, hi, how are you? You can just simply say, reply with Copilot. Got nothing from you, Ed. That's fine. If you want to just drive. Oh, I just heard something flicker. Try talking. We are live here, folks. It's all good. The intelligent call recap is something that actually is built into Zoom. So this isn't something that's unique to Teams. Zoom has this capability. It's an AI feature, allows you to summarize your calls. Speaker recognition, which is cool. Being able to do transcripts, etc. That's always a good thing. Autopilot for Teams Rooms. Microsoft is about to simplify the deployment of Teams Rooms devices by integrating with Windows Autopilot. Allows admins to deploy Teams Rooms environments quickly and easily. So lots of features there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we heard you, Ed. There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're back. There you go. That was me tap dancing. There you go.
But yeah, I thought this was interesting. This is kind of the large language model stuff mixing with our day-to-day work activities, which I think is pretty cool because you might be able to go and like ask it to, recap a couple, important points for the week or something, and just have it like sweep through meeting chats and emails and things like that, and kind of parse through your be your second brain for the week.
Here's how I do it. So often this is the reason this is a huge time saver. So here's what happens internally. You'll run a meeting, not everyone shows up, and then people will say, can you provide a recording? Now, often no one watches those recordings because they have to now commit the additional 30 minutes that you had originally to watch the whole meeting. So what would be really nice, and this is what's coming and what is available in solutions, is not only do you provide a recording, but you also recap it quickly so that people who want to watch the meeting are enticed to do so by that recap. And also actually, I see this a lot in Zoom. I use this for Zoom today, is that you can do a smart summary. So it will show you only the highlights of the recording, which is super awesome. This saves you so much time with these sort of recordings, and is a game changer internally, because I run a lot of meetings and I record them and then I send them to internal Slack team messages and such. And oftentimes you don't see a lot of people watching these things. So this is a game changer for me. I love it.
Yeah, hopefully it bookmarks like points in the video and stuff as well. So you could be, if you want to, look for, like, we'll have big meetings that are like our whole portfolio of tools, and I want to focus in on just my specific product. I can wait until it's mentioned, and just click on some text or something that's going to take me to that portion of video. That'd be like super helpful. So looking forward to some of this stuff integrating into the Office suite. And while we're talking about AI and smart things, we have the brand new smart components from the ASP.NET team.
It remains to be seen whether they're smart. Sorry.
Have you seen this demo
yet? I have to be a little
yet?
bit snarky here.
The demo's pretty interesting. I actually redid Steve's demo on another show I'll talk about here in a minute, along with some other things to show off how all this works. But Steve Sanderson is the one that was behind creating this. And basically you hook up your API to or your app to an
We can see it.
open
It's all
office
good.
API.
Yep.
And when you do this, you can add these smart components to your project, and you can have this smart paste functionality. So you can pull text out of an email that is not shaped in any way, but has the pertinent information. And then Steve's showing it here. You basically copy and paste it into the form. And then the AI behind the form sorts through the text, parses it out, puts it in the fields it belongs in. So you can make a lot of tedious, busy work go away with functionality like this. And there's some other examples that he's got in the repo where it's like, here's a good one, John, you'll like this one. So, you're filling out a bug report, you're a developer, and you've got maybe some text that somebody emailed you where they found a bug. You need to log that bug. You can go into the email, and like this one says, I found a small problem in the UI. And then you copy and smart paste that in, and it's actually going to go through and pick out the right severity and the bug type. So it flagged it as a bug, and then there's like an email where it's a feature suggestion. It will go through and it'll actually pick the correct item type for that. It'll say like feature suggestion instead of bug. So it's contextually aware of what it's doing. So it's actually pretty neat.
Yeah, two things on this. One, you and I, I remember I worked at a place where one of the classifications of bug type was do my job, which I always found funny. So, and then secondly, anytime a UI set of controls comes out and they're called smart, whatever, I'd be careful. Software is notoriously not smart. Typically, it takes a really long time. This is why AI, in some cases, it takes a really long time to come back with the wrong answer. But kudos to Steve and the team. This is great. I love any innovation that can be done here to help us as developers be smarter. And that's in air quotes, by the way. Smart is a subjective term, I guess. So, but yeah, that's awesome.
Like we did notice as I was going through the demo myself that some of the things it tries to do intelligently, it fails at. So, it's still in that learning phase. And for example, I had a text box on the form that said age, and it said, this person was born on such and such a date. And when you pasted it in, it tried to get the age from the date, and it was incorrectly calculating it. So, it was off by a couple of years. So there's some small issues with it, and it still requires like human intervention to go through and make sure that what you're pasting in is correct in the right places and all of that. So it's not perfect.
I have Borat's voice in my head when I think like Borat being this is the perspective of the components. Like, greetings, user. You are 10,000 microseconds old. I'm like, no, I need years and months, please. Thank you. So very
if
nice.
You want to see more of this type of stuff, go to Jeff Fritz's YouTube page. Just go to Google, type Fritz, and look out for modern .NET Web Dev or modern .NET Web Day. I was thinking there was dev in there somewhere, but it's not.
You need AI to read that out.
.NET Web Day. It was kind of like a mini conference, right? This is kind of a mini conference that Jeff put together that had a select handful of speakers come talk about like modern things that we're doing with software dev. There's a couple of Blazor things in there. I joined in to show some of the AI tools that Steve Sanderson was working on that I just showed you there.
Okay,
Looks
cool.
really familiar, the smart paste. But I also have one that I did. I showed you how to wire up all the back-end stuff for OpenAI and ChatGPT and all that to add some really cool stuff to your apps. And one of those was like building one of those chat integrated things, like a Copilot for your own app. So
did you use the Telerik controls for that?
Yeah, I used a Telerik component to do the UI portion of it. So you can add this Copilot type technology to your own application pretty quickly. Actually, I was able to do this in 45 minutes plus add some demos of Steve Sanderson's code as well. So it's really interesting, and I thought it was fun to at least. with OpenAI. Just whether you have a project or you just want to play with it, I recommend it. It's just a fun exercise.
Awesome.
Speaking of presentations and Visual Studio and all of that good stuff, John, Visual Studio presentation mode. I've seen this before. Is this getting an update, or we just kind of
no, it's one of those
revisiting?
features that not a lot of people know about, and so this is Bart talks a little bit about how to fire this up via the command prompt. So you can see the command there, demo mode. You can swap that out with any word you want, but basically you're creating a separate instance type, and then it's basically a way of separating out that instance for presentations, etc. And it allows you to make sure that nothing drives me up the wall more than people like, all right, let's take a look at Visual Studio. They fire up Visual Studio and no one can read it. And then you get all the audience members saying like, pump up the font. And he's like, can you see it now? Can you see it now? It's the equivalent of anyone like on a Zoom call saying, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'm like, you're just killing me. Micro killing me, a little knife stabs. I'm losing seconds. So there you go.
So that blog post detailed the way to do it from the command line. And I'm trying to remember.
There's an extension, I know.
Yeah, there is an extension. I just looked it up. And it looks like there's a tweaks extension. This is a MADS extension. And it will actually put a taskbar, like a thing in one of the menus like this, a context menu. And it will say like open in presentation mode. I'm trying to remember exactly where it shows up, but you do that and there it is. It goes in the taskbar.
Now, what's interesting is Mads actually talks about the exact same command line.
Yeah, he does.
In the bottom of that, yeah.
Yeah, so you can jump into it from there if you have the extension installed. If you don't, you can pop it open from
just run it from the command
line. CLI.
Yep.
Useful to folks like us who are doing presentations all the time. What's going on here, John? This looks very what is it called? Defrag.
So this is showing garbage collection.
Garbage collection.
Yeah, so there's a tool called Gummy Cat. So it's available there, and this is something that allows you to visualize your garbage collector. This was really popular back in the early .NET 1 days where people were trying to play with different garbage collectors. You may remember that .NET shipped with, I think, a couple, and then there was a bunch of experimental ones that came out of the academic community, and this continues to be the case. But Kevin here wrote this tool called Gummy Cat that you can check out and take a look at your generations. You can take a look at your pinned objects. You can take a look at what's being previewed there.
And then I got one more link. I think we may have actually showed this on the show before. I can't remember, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it up here anyway, just because it's fun. And we haven't covered one of these in a while, but it is time for one more.
Everyone's favorite segment. Nice.
So this one is Doom running as console.log output in Chrome web browser. So you can do Doom as console.log and then use your arrow keys to play the game.
Yeah. It's kind of like Zork.
Why not? It's very meta, like just throw it all in the browser. Wonder if it's running, in WebAssembly. Credits to Doom via WebAssembly.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
I think we've finished the internet today, John.
Yes, that's a good place to wrap it up.
And we'll have more great links and news
More
clips
Doom.
and things. Yeah, more Doom. More Can I Play Doom. More fun. Much more AR, VR. I didn't get any of those. I didn't get any of that for John this week, but we'll definitely talk about some AR, VR stuff on the next show or two. All right, John. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you all soon.